Aloha. Today I wanted to speak in reference to the Divide and Conquer program. Dustin just did a video that sent like the confirmation that I should speak on this because he did a really good quick video explaining the little bickering and fights back and forth between YouTube channels and how they're really only doing that stuff for themselves. They have no interest in information or the people overall. Once you get caught up in that celebrity world, then it's more about maintaining your the way you look, the way you it gets more focused on the individual, and the content or the information itself gets lost in the whole lost in the sauce of stardom and subscriberdom, or whatever the hell they want to, whatever people pride themselves in. The actual the compassion, the empathy, the connection with the people gets lost. This is when people get caught up in their own world. An example of that is when I started researching sort of new age information after I left the destructive sort of occupy, fight the power, externalize reality. I needed to understand what was internal, and the new age was set up right there for me to look at. And I was like, after a while you hit that peak, because then you realize that a lot of the people who are in that world are only for themselves. And then you see overall the design of that program is also only for itself, because that's a future focused mentality. This is the intention of the idea of new. It's to take your focus away from your ancestral threads, your ancient cultures, your historical threads that are not concerned with the idea of what is new, but is organically rooted in the system that is original, the aboriginal, the indigenous understandings. Before we can go anywhere in the future, we have to understand who and what we are from our ancestral thread perspective. This idea of innovation, this idea of climate change, this idea of the new age, this idea of the alien agenda, all of this stuff is designed to have you focused on this, have a future focused mentality, a future focused history. So even your history is based upon the future. This is what Ancient Aliens is. Ancient Aliens is designed to create a future focused history. So so their intentions to focus on themselves, to make them, because all these ancient astronaut theorists are all now celebrities now because of Ancient Aliens. And then you have these boil over these people who were in like the new age community, like David Wilcock, who leaked over into the Ancient Alien perspective because they want to validate themselves, just like I said in previous videos how Bernie Sanders validates TYT, TYT validates Bernie Sanders, Trump validates Alex Jones validates Donald Trump. This is how all this stuff, and it works vice versa when you have YouTube channels or individuals who fight each other. So now you can see who is who and what is what when they fight each other, and they also try to convince you. That's all for you. That ain't for them. They don't give a shit about. A lot of these people, just like the politics, when they get on debates, they're best fucking friends. They know each other. They hang out. That was just a big show. And Donald Trump he even lets you know, he's like, that was just a show. I was just doing that to get votes. Even if you believe that the vote system at all works, but he was that's another layer of it. But he was saying that just to get people behind him, support. He was acting, he was playing a role. These are actors. Like I mentioned in the last video, the Civil Rights Act, that's an act. They are playing an act. That was just a thing to be part of the movie to make you think like progress was happening. These are acts. These are bills that are being passed. This is all stuff that's, you are paying the bills. You are acting in these roles. And every single piece of legislature, every single politician that's in that world is designed to play a role. These are actors reading scripts, reading prescription drugs. Like in the movies, they're reading scripts, actors playing their roles. They are casting spells on the masses to believe in the illusions that these destructive mentalities, destructive intelligences have designed to maintain a divide and conquer mentality on the individual scale and on the collective scale. And they play your heartstrings and emotional body on a 24/7 basis. And I wanted to expand this divide and conquer perspective while I'm on this roll, because yesterday I was watching some videos about this whole CALEXIT stuff, and yeah, I'll talk about that briefly in a second, but I'll boil it all down. I'll get there to a second. But before I get there, I wanted to address the passing of Carrie Fisher. I had said this when I saw this video. This video came out a month ago. Less than a month ago, this video, Carrie Fisher talks Harrison Ford and Coke. I watched this video because I wanted to know what she was talking about as far as Coke, what perspective you are coming from, and from the way she is, I had a feeling that she drank a lot of Coke. I didn't know that it was a lot, and as soon as she said that, and seeing her actions, soon after this video, I said to myself, I said, she ain't got much longer. If she's doing that, she's on her way out. And when I initially heard that she was sick on a plane or something, or wherever it was, before they actually announced that she had passed, I had already said, like, man, that's it. You can't live that long and have to, after doing what she says she's doing. She says she drinks 16 Cokes a day, and then she gets the disclaimer, well, I don't drink all of them, they get warm, and then what I do is I'll open another one, and then I'll drink another one. 16, I don't give a fuck. Even if she drinks half of that, 8 Cokes a day. And I know there's people drinking more than that. When I was in the Army, people were drinking 2 liters before work started. 2 liters of Mountain Dew, smoking a pack of Marlboros a day. This shit is fucking crazy. That shit is horrible for your body. It is so bad. And I'm speaking from an experiential observation, having my father was sick. I would say sick in reference to the food that he ate. Heavy meat eater, heavy, just old school mentality, just eating all kinds of food, and just, he drank a lot of Coca-Cola. And that's kind of like, I have like a nostalgia thing when I drink Coca-Cola with ice, and it was a whole thing. He's like, put some ice in it, you know. It was a whole thing. It was almost like drinking scotch or something like that. And in fact, I would not recommend, but Coca-Cola is more dangerous than a lot of, like, I would even say alcohols overall. Of course, not saying drinking alcohol, I'm not condoning like that all day. What I'm saying is that the side effects to Coca-Cola are horrible. You got congestive heart failure. You got all the sugar, the aspartame. What else? You see what it does to battery acid. If you pour Coca-Cola on a battery acid, it used to clean the battery acid off of the batteries with Coca-Cola. You can clean toilet bowls with Coca-Cola. Carrie Fisher says she drinks 16 Cokes a day. That's what she's comfortable with saying on Ellen. So outside of that, the amount doesn't really matter. The thing is, she drinks Coca-Cola. She probably drinks Coca-Cola or drank Coca-Cola more frequently than she drinks water. And that's not like a big surprise. That's an actual thing that people are going on, especially with like a lot of gamers and all. I don't mean to call people out, but that's just what came up. I see a lot of, because it's convenient. It's a thing. It's a mentality. It's a vibration, actually. And this fits into what I wanted to talk about as far as divide and conquer, because this is just the internal divide and conquer. This is another way. All that sugar, that messes with your brain frequencies. This goes down to the very vibrations of your brain waves. Your brain waves are being divided and conquered by the food that you eat, the soda that you drink, the education that you think is education, the celebrities that you worship, the technology, the Wi-Fi, the vibrations of all this technology when you sleep. This is another form of divide and conquer. The reason why, one of the main reasons why I'm saying this right now in reference to Carrie Fisher and the divide and conquer stuff is not only to bring some awareness to people who are still either drinking. I would imagine not many people who are tuned into this channel are still drinking stuff like that and eating some jacked up stuff, but you never know who will see these videos. But I wanted to take this moment to really share with people that this is horrible. It's really, really horrible for your body. And if it's horrible for your body, it's horrible for your mind, and it's horrible for your relationship to your soul and everything in between. There's 0 degrees of separation between the relationships that your soul has with your mind with your body with your soul, and your soul with your... It's about these bridges. You yourself are a bridge between the light and the dark, the electric and magnetic, the destructive and the creative intelligences. You are light. You are built of all of these energies. You are bridging the relationship between your body and your mind. That bridge is being destroyed by stuff like Coca-Cola. It's being destroyed by genetically modified foods. Just like the education system gets on that bridge, destroys these bridges. This is the divide and conquer mentality. They destroy the bridges that are naturally connecting you. The bridges, I think in the brain frequencies they call them, or brain chemistry they call them, synapses. These synapses, like those firing pins in like a weapon, in like an M16. That's what like a firing pin, like where that firing pin taps that bullet. That's a moment in time where there's like that explosion which projects that bullet out of the weapon. That could be seen as like a thought, and all of these going on and on, all these little mini explosions create a reality. They create, when you combine all of them, you can see that like each explosion is like a flicker rate. So people aren't firing off. This is why you see people are like, something's missing, some screws are loose or something like that. They're not firing on all signals, or whatever the phrase is. This is true. This is part of the divide and conquer mentality. So not only is that a horrible thing, Carrie Fisher drank 16. She said it. I'm not going to play it because, You can watch it yourself. She actually says it like in the beginning, and this is her trying to like calm people down because Ellen's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" Pretty much. But this is the thing. They use outlets like Ellen and people like Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia, to sell you a mentality of limitation so that you can fall somewhere in between. This is the bridge for the people who are on the skirts, on the fence of stopping, like changing their diets, changing themselves. When they televise a star and that star says, "Hey, I'm successful, I'm great, I'm smart, I'm this, I'm that, and I drink 16 Coca-Colas a day," what does that do for millions of people who are thinking about either stopping drinking Coca-Cola or drinking Coca-Cola consistently? It's validating them who are drinking it on a regular basis, and it's keeping people from realizing that they should stop or let that shit go in some kind of way. This is when you zoom out and see the effect that celebrities have on the individual and the collective as a whole. This is a good example of what it does. And the celebrities are a good example of what commercials do every day. When you see commercials every day of McDonald's, and I know I'm speaking to the choir and all that shit, but I just wanted to share that in reference to her passing, recognize her passing, because they're just going to talk about her movies, iconic star, and all this other stuff, and whatever. But the person that I saw when I was on Ellen was a sick person. You have to be really, really sick. She's 60 years old. That's like some little kid shit to be drinking Coca-Cola 16 Cokes a day. Come on now. But the media, like some hyenas, some scavengers or something, some vultures, they just want to feed off of her iconism, or what's the word? What I'm talking about. They just want to feed off of the story, and they don't want to share anything that is in reference to her. Of course, they want to focus on how great she was and all that other stuff and the person, but at the essence, the mainstream media are some fucking vultures. They don't give a damn about her. Of course, they don't give a shit about her. None of these, the system doesn't give a shit about these people. They use these people. They use them up and they make them sick. So drinking, that is a disease. And it hit me kind of hard after I heard that she passed, because my father had at one time congestive heart failure, and then he came back from it and then passed again. That was or not passed again, but got to the brink of that and then actually passed. And it was largely because of his eating habits and his diet and so on and so forth. And drinking soda was a main thing. And of course, when I was in the military, they don't give a shit about your diet. They just want to make sure you can, as long as you can pass your PT test, as long as you can pass, if you're not overweight and you can pass your PT test, then you're good. Your PT is your physical training test. So as long as you can do that, you're good. You can drink soda for the rest your entire career. In fact, there are people that drink soda every single day for their 20 plus year military career. It is a thing. Soda and coffee and fast food, and actually survive. Like I'm saying, like we are some resilient ass people, beings. But yeah, what is our potential outside of that destructive nature is my point. And we'll never know until we let go of those mentalities, of those programs that we hold on to. Like I said in 2 videos ago, what is more important, nostalgia or truth? Like nostalgia is like feeling good. It could be seen as like nostalgia. Like even to this day, I still want to cook gumbo. Gumbo was like a big thing for me, and it's more about like that flavor. And I know if I were to make it and eat it, that first bite would be okay, or that first sip would be okay, and then after a while, the reality of that bowl of gumbo would start to take more precedence over my experience of nostalgia, and I would start to see what's going on there, and it wouldn't be anymore. And maybe that's what I need to do. I need to make gumbo one more time and actually try to eat it, and then that'll be the kicker for me to understand even more. That's how I learned a lot of these things, is just to, you actually have to experience. I grew up hard-headed, so I had to, experience these realities, and then I'll understand a deeper layer of it. There's some shit you just can't read about. You can't read about. There's some things you're not gonna learn from a YouTube video. You're not gonna learn. You just have to experience a lot of these things, and then to be able to understand it, it'll become natural. So, but yeah, that's the thing. It's like this food that we're eating, it's separating us from our maximum vibrations, our frequencies, our connections. Like your sleep is affected by your food. Your sleep is affected. Like don't think that Carrie Fisher's sleep wasn't affected by 16 Coca-Colas a day. Her relationships was affected by Coca-Cola. Like, this is how far this stuff goes. We compartmentalize it. We think it's different because, we don't make these connections. We see ourselves from whatever's comfortable. But once we start to connect these dots of who and what we are, then it becomes more evident. And it can go all the way down to you actually like passing on. Like, she had a heart attack. There's nobody in this world that can convince me that Coca-Cola didn't have some kind of factor in that, if she was drinking Coca-Cola 16 times a day. And for how long? We don't know how long she's been doing that. She could have been doing that since she was a kid. I mean, she was rich and famous, so she had access. It was accessible. It's a drug. Used to literally put cocaine in that shit back in the day. Like, look at what they're doing, like feeding your kids. Oh God, I don't know. I didn't think I was gonna go off on the Carrie Fisher Coca-Cola thing, but I guess that's what needed to come out. YouTube trending, Yahoo trending, Facebook algorithms, Instagram algorithms, Twitter trending, viral videos, that's all Coca-Cola. It's all aspartame, designed to separate you, designed to divide every single part of your moment, every single part of your experience, and ultimately steal your life. Like, your moments, your time, your focus, your thoughts, your dreams, your relationships. This is your life. And this stuff is being affected. This stuff is affecting your lives. Like when I was talking yesterday about the relationship that children have with parents and how it's being affected by technology. That's a big deal. It's a huge, huge deal because you're talking. I'm not looking at it from. I'm not only looking at it from the actual relationship in that moment, like 1 to 5 years old, 5 to 10 years old, 10 to 18 years old. I'm looking at it from a generational perspective. What's going to happen in the next generation of kids who are going to be raising children in a few generations? Like, what are their values going to be? What kind of roots are they going to have? Like, the root structures are being destroyed by this synthetic version of reality. And like I said, in reference to Carrie Fisher being put on television, these are stars to create vibrations for you and your children to believe what's wrong and right within your reality. This is the design. This is the alchemy of Hollywood. It's the alchemy of Monsanto in your genetically modified foods. It's the alchemy of fluoridated water, the alchemy of fluoridated education systems, the alchemy of the fluoridated dreams, your American dreams, the alchemy of destroying history, the alchemy of telling you that the only reason why, if you are a so-called black person, that you are in America is that you came from the Roots movie, from the slave ships. That's an ultimate separation from your land, from the Aboriginal Americans. The so-called black race in America is largely American. The melanated people were all over the earth plane before Europeans even had a thought in their brain, in their minds, to move anywhere, to build a boat, to do anything like that. The invention of the slave trade mentality in the infrastructure to enslave the people in this, not only the people in that moment, but future generations. This is what the Roots documentary and the revamping of the Roots last year or this year, whatever year it was, this is what it does. This is how this magic works. History, the way it's portrayed by the illusionists, is a form of Coca-Cola. It will steal your time. It will steal your life force energy and have you focusing on a reality that is more based in fabrication than it is in any kind of truth. And best believe any of these political moves that are being made by the system have zero concern for the well-being of the individual and the human population, the beingness as a whole. Excuse me. This is design. They make money off of your demise. They make money off of your death. This is the essence of what the destructive intelligence is. This is the essence of, it's the blood. It's the death force energy of the destructive intelligence. To live, to drink your blood, to live off of your death. This is why your birth certificate is used as collateral for the death, the destructive intelligence system that is the Maritime Admiralty system, the straw man system, the language itself. It's a dead language. The language that we speak, English, is like McDonald's language. It's Coca-Cola language. It's a commercial language. There's no depth to it. The only way you can get some depth to it is if you if you turn it into poetry or something like that, and even that is limited. Like when you go into the ancient languages, you can see one word means like 10 different things. And then when you have an entire sentence of words that mean 10 different things, how much information is being exchanged by conscious beings in one sentence, in one moment? Now realize what's happening when we have a double cheeseburger language, a Coca-Cola language. That's consciousness being limited at its basis. This is what, and I've spoken on this in previous videos, as the English language, we accept it as like a good thing that the entire Earth plane is being able to speak in one language. And yes, I do see the benefits of that, but we must also see the opposite side of that. The intention of that, from an alchemy perspective, is that this shit is an extreme limitation. It's a virus. Your language is how you communicate, how you raise your children. Anyway, I gotta get off on all kinds of tangents. But all of this is still in reference to the divide and conquer mentality. All of this is still, so I'm not really off track. All of it all comes back to the divide and conquer mentality of the destructive intelligence to survive off of your demise. And a new version of surviving off of your demise is to create these new versions of understanding, to create a new version of reality, like the new age, the new world order, and so on and so forth, to make you think things are changing for the better. And they sell you something that's walking backwards as something that's moving forward. And you say, hey, that's progress. And you're like, no, that's meant to trip and fall. That's meant to look a certain way. And it's all reversed. Everything is sold to you reversed. And since we don't even know how to look, our eyes aren't even open. We don't know how to experience or see what's really going on here. So stuff like disclosure, the alien agenda, the all this stuff that's being pumped out by ancient aliens and the so-called secret space program and the new age agenda and so on and so forth. This is all to divide you, to divide and conquer you by having you create a foundation based upon limited understandings, understandings, and overstandings of who and what you are and who and what your ancestors were, and who and how you are a manifestation of your ancestors. Like to disconnect you from everything that predates this moment and focus only on the idea of innovation. So this is how the synthetic version of consciousness expanding. So they're saying, yeah, things are changing because things were really bad back in the day. Like Trump is another example of that. And people are buying that shit. Like, things are changing. Hillary Clinton represented the globalist. She was the establishment. But now we voted. Fucking illusion. We voted for change, for something new. The people are speaking. And now the future is going to be different. You fucking sheep. You have, oh God, I don't even want to go into that space. Anyway, you know where I'm coming from in that reality. It's a design to create, and the new age mentality ain't no different. When they sell you the alien agenda, it's a future focused history. When they tell you, and all of this stuff is based on the foundation of the evolution theory. Like, if you don't dig out the roots of this synthetic program, get them completely out of there. It's kind of like cutting down a tree. Just by cutting the tree down, if you don't get those roots out of the ground, that tree will grow right back. So all this sort of new versions of the so-called new versions of change and innovation, all they're doing is cutting a tree down or trimming a tree at best and calling it change. when those roots are still in there, you still have the roots of the Big Bang Theory. You still have the roots of the evolution theory. You still have the roots of the supremacy program, the roots of the colonial agenda, the roots of control, divide and conquer, and the destructive intelligence as a whole is still alive and well. And that is the focus of the system as a whole, to maintain control over the masses at the masses' expense. You can see it from an individual, collective, cultural, community perspective. Every perspective, it boils down to this. And this CALEXIT stuff, in reference to like the Brexit stuff, the British exit, that was the design, that was the focus of Brexit. It was to create this mentality, realizing that these governments are not separate at all. It's all one storyline. It's all one mind control program. People were saying when Trump got selected that, oh, Trump represents like our Brexit, like the American Brexit. Now they can take it even further and say, well, if they can do that in Europe, then California can do this. We have power, we have money, we have people, we have this. We're already pretty much our own country, so why don't we do this? And how I was seeing that is that is just moving from the big slave house to a little slave house. The change of command is going to be the same. It's just a change of command. It's different. You're just going to have a satellite enslavement program. You move from one slave house to another slave house. There will be no systematic change if you have any kind of seceding or whatever. And largely, what this means is, this talk of CALEXIT is to make you feel powerless, make you think on a level that is still only based upon the system giving you some power, giving you the ability to do something. It's buying your time. It's creating foundations for the future. So in the future, you can think of something else. You can still pass legislature in the future to think on this level, whatever it is. And the system will just keep expanding. It doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want in reference to that world. It's a virus. This shit will just go on and on through the bloodstream. If people aren't cleaning out their blood in reference to the root system of this destructive intelligence, it'll just move into the next program. So let's imagine that tomorrow, or at the first of the year, 2017, California is now its own country or its own system, whatever it is. Now you just created just a fight. Now you have, we're better, because the idea is that the people are still children mentally. So it'll just be like an NFL team. It'll be like the Raiders and the 49ers, or the Raiders and the Cowboys. It'd be more like, it'll just be like a bickering sort of childish adolescent thing. You'll still have teenagers, grown up teenagers in the world. See, we focus on the system as the system being the issue, when the system is only secondary to the issue, because the issue is the individuals themselves downloading the programs of the system from an adolescent perspective, and then activating these disempowered adolescent perspectives of a rotten, cancerous system that never is synthetic in the first place. It has zero interest in you. So we focus constantly on how we can change the system and have very little to no focus on how the system has overtaken, the synthetic system has overtaken our humanity. And like I said in previous videos, if you don't have peaceful people, then you will never have a peaceful world. If you don't have people who are mentally peaceful, then they will never be physically peaceful. And if they're not spiritually peaceful, then you can't have mental peace. And if you can't have mental peace, you can't have a physical experience peace. So this goes shockwaves all the way up. The highest vibrations in reference to those three experiences is the spiritual soul plane. Understanding the intentions of the religious programming is one way to realize how we've been separated, divided, and conquered from our worlds, internally and externally. Addressing the university system and the public education system from a perspective of divide and conquer as the intention of the destructive intelligence program is one way to start to realize that how this system is controlling us and how we're allowing it to control us because we think it's the only thing that exists. This is why they have to invent this idea of technology and so-called innovation and create these teams. So the CALEXIT stuff is just like a creating of these teams, just like real and fake, and just like the alien agenda. When the alien agenda, let's say the alien agenda was activated on January 1st. Aliens landed on the front lawn of Washington, D.C. Then you're going to have people that are going to say, oh, that's totally staged. Then you're going to have people say, oh, thank you, aliens, for coming and saving the day and all that other shit. And then they're going to have that whole world. People talk about it like little fucking kids back and forth forever. Meanwhile, the system is just going to tell you whatever the fuck they want to tell you because that's how we are. We just believe whatever they say and whatever they do. And that's how this program is because we don't have any empowered spaces. We're not empowered at all to discern any of the information, to discern how destructive, how they don't give a shit about us in the first place. So we just buy whatever's sold to us. This is why the so-called climate change agenda is being pumped, amplified so much within our reality because they have to reinforce the globe model. And they have to also reinforce the teams. These are the fake people. They don't believe in climate change. How could you? You must not care about Earth. You're not a natural person if you don't care about climate change. You bring up chemtrails to these largely these people. You don't think chemtrails has any kind of effect on the climate? Like, oh, what are chemtrails? Get the fuck out of here with this shit. Regardless of what chemtrails actually are, because there's all kinds of different perspectives. These people talking about climate change is still have zero understandings that chemtrails even exist. But that's the intent. That's the intention. It's a childish sort of a program. It's like, so what? Doesn't matter. This is what matters. Either you're a climate change believer or you're a climate change denier. Which team are you on? Because climate change deniers are people like Donald Trump and Alex Jones and all those other people. And they're just crazy, right? Am I right? Yeah, high five. We have a TV show. So they create these teams based upon pop culture. And your truth is based upon pop culture. Your forward progress in humanity is based upon pop culture. That's the intention of this world. That's the divide and conquer program as a whole. Climate change is a big one because it goes all the way down to you even like people who are in the so-called in the flat earth talks or understandings of reality. There are obvious. It's the climate change intention is obvious. You can see that's a globe model reinforcement tool, and it's all to make a divide and conquer program. That's what the internet is, to bombard you with distraction, bombard you with information, And it will always boil down to how you ingest that information. Because if you are still anchored in a belief system mentality based upon the systems and in your lack of power, that's what, if you have no fire, if your root system, your fire root system, which is who and what you are, the crown of your subtle bodies, your root chakra, your sacral chakra, and your solar plexus as your stomach brain, your fire of this human experience. Like if you're not at all tapped into that space, which is bombarded by dead flesh energy and all that other shit that closes off that mind, your stomach mind. If you're not tapped into that reality at all, then you're still going to exist in reaction to the program as a whole. You won't have any kind of ability to discern for yourself what is good for you and what is like a program to, like a parasite to feed off of you. And this entire program is a parasite to feed. So anyway, I think I pretty much expanded on what divide and conquer looks like from many different perspectives. I really just wanted to share this whole because it was new to me. You know what I mean? I saw and heard some other things about the CALEXIT stuff, but it's just an example. I just wanted to share it as an example of this program. It doesn't matter what the program itself is doing, because what's always going to be involved is the people. And if the people have no understandings of who and what they are, then any system that gets put in front of the people's faces will just max out at the consciousness of the people themselves. So if we're not focusing on the consciousness of the people themselves and healing those roots, healing those connections to the ancestors, healing nature and the earth plane as a whole by uprooting the synthetic system and getting that shit out of there, first of all. But if we're not healing these connections, then it'll never matter what the system is really doing, because what truly matters is the individuals themselves that make up the collective and how that consciousness experiences its reality. So yeah, when you see these videos of these CALEXIT people, they're just voting. That's where their power is. Their fire exists in a voting booth. And when you see that and you understand the deception of the entire system as a whole, then you'll realize that it's designed to steal fire, to steal life force energy, to steal focus, all of it. From the new age perspectives to the so-called political perspectives to the so-called technological innovation, all of it is designed to control an adolescent consciousness and maintain an adolescent consciousness. Peace be to her, Carrie Fisher, in her passing. But her consciousness, her perspective, that was an adolescent ass mentality. If you're drinking 16 Coca-Colas a day, you're a fucking child. I don't know where that knock came from out there. I don't mean to be. I'm not laughing at her passing or anything. I'm laughing at the essence of this reality that is comedic. If you can't laugh with it, then it will destroy you. And that's also part of the design, to keep you in these low vibrations. So we have to flip the script and see what's going on and really lighten up, truly lighten up, because death is just another birth. So if we start to add more life to our life, then we will understand what death truly is. But we can't do that if we don't release these dead frequencies that we are calling living life. Like, she was seen as like as like she was a star. Like people were like up in our even George Michael, that's his name. Yeah, he passed too. Like all these people that passed, these celebrities, he passed too. All these people up in arms about celebrities and stars passing when you got like hundreds and thousands of people dying every day from starvation and all this other stuff. That's an actual energy that's being focused into the synthetic system. This is why they make all these videos. How many of these trending videos could be focused on the thousands of children who are starving every day? How much change could happen from ABC News, People Magazine, Trending You, and NBC News? You see how they're spaced out too. Whatever that C is. Collider Videos. ET. This is all, and they're all spaced out in the trending thing. How many of these videos could be focused on the death and the starvation of the dirty water of even people that are in the United States, if you want to focus on it from that perspective. But if you go into the side effects of the empire of the United States across the earth plane, this is the intention of that limited vibration. That's that war. You're at a constant state of war. It's a crazy ass perspective to come at it from the recent passing of a celebrity to realize this. But this is an act of war. Carrie Fisher passing and having her bombard your news frequencies with, oh, that's so sad that she passed. Yes, it's sad. But when you come at it from the perspective of humanity as a whole and realizing how sad that shit is from the colonial empire as a whole, you'll realize that this is how these magicians work your mind to get you believing and dumbing down your system. This shit's an act of war. When they can do this, they can share this information like Alex Jones, his name of his channel is called InfoWars, because they got to get that plant out there to make you think that they're the superheroes in that information war. This is an information war. And you can see where his information maxes out. It maxes out at a Donald Trump. It maxes out at the American dream. It maxes out at the colonial program. That's why he was planted there. He's the controlled opposition, just like TYT and so forth. Another version of the act of war is how they promote this information and don't talk about other information. That is when it becomes evident that this is a spiritual warfare. I've gone on long enough, so thank you for joining me. And until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.